We believe that if you can bet on the color of the Gatorade at the Super Bowl on Kalshi or Polymarket, then you should be able to invest $100,000, $10,000 at a time into really high quality real estate that's managed by extremely experienced operators that have been delivering returns for a very long time for investors behind closed doors. And what we're attempting to do is open the doors to everybody to participate in private real estate markets.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Slumdog Millionaires. Today, we are here with Mor Milo, and he has come up with, pronounce it for me again.
Really?
I know, really. Okay, I was going to say really now.
A really good deal.
A really good deal, and it is the stock market of real estate. So we are really excited for you to tell us all about that, explain how you got into it, explain what it is, and give us all the good information.
Sure. I'm Mor. Nice to meet you guys. I'm the CEO and founder of Relly. I have a wonderful co-founder and my business partner, Ross Einarelli. And he snuck that name in there with his last name. I didn't even notice it for probably about a year, but it was a good name because it has to do with real estate and energy and technology and all sorts of fun stuff. So it worked out pretty good.
But I did the same thing. Did you see? Slumdog.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do when you got to do it, right? I respect him for it. I'm very happy with the fact that it ended up happening that way. So I can't complain. But I can say that I noticed it immediately. It took me a second to figure it out. But essentially, our goal is to create a stock market for real estate. We believe that if you can bet on the color of the Gatorade at the Super Bowl on Kalshi or Polymarket, then you should be able to invest $100,000, $10,000 at a time into really high quality real estate that's managed by extremely experienced operators that have been delivering returns for a very long time for investors behind closed doors. And what we're attempting to do is open the doors to everybody to participate in private real estate markets. And essentially, the end goal is to have a platform similar to Fidelity, E-Trade, Charles Schwab, where you can live trade your assets in lots of different communities, as well as different asset classes, where you can invest in residential, industrial, and commercial. Today, the platform operates as a marketplace to connect the two main players in the industry, which are LPs and GPs, so limited partners and general partners. Okay. And the way that we do that is we go out and find really great general partners that are usually operators of real estate that have a background and experience in delivering results for investors by buying a specific piece of property, or they have an opportunistic perspective on lots of different types of property, and giving them access to a marketplace where we can deliver them access to those LP investors that are looking for deal flow on demand. And what we do for those LPs is we give them access to a marketplace full of vetted deals that have been looked at by our legal team to make sure that the T's have been crossed and the I's are dotted and that the companies are real. And what we do is we take those deals and we put them into our marketplace completely for free for LPs to be able to find deals across the country from operators that we have vetted that they can passively invest in or just start building relationships with to learn more about their businesses and see if they can involve themselves one step at a time.
My gosh, my brain is moving like 1,000 miles a minute with everything you're saying. Like how many ways that this can totally work for us is like just phenomenal.
You were going through it and my face kept changing. I was like, oh, yeah.
And we could do this and we can do that.
Yeah.
It's like such an aha moment. Oh my gosh, I think that the idea is genius. How did you come up with it?
So we kind of stumbled upon it, honestly. Me and my business partner, Ross Einarelli, have been building businesses now for 10 years. This is our fourth startup together. And the first three startups, we were in the automotive space. We were in the sales and marketing space. We did a little bit of venture studio type stuff. Nothing really clicked. But what we had noticed is that me and him really worked well together. And we had other partners and sometimes they fizzled, sometimes it worked. And what we decided was, hey, me and you against the world, let's go solve a big problem. And what we did was we said, okay, what's working for us in our world? And what was working for us is investing in stocks and cryptocurrencies, mostly stocks. And what we saw is that if we did our research and we took the time to understand different companies, we could make really educated decisions on who we wanted to invest in. And we could do it with $100,000, $10,000 at a time, investing in a plethora of different types of opportunities in different sectors where we could balance out risk, but also balance out the returns. And we wanted the same experience to invest in real estate, which didn't exist for us. And traditionally, my family invested in single family residence for the last 25 years. They bought and held and rented and did the whole tenant thing and Section 8 and you name it, they've done it. And I was there through that whole process. I watched that process. I dealt with the evictions and I dealt with all the stuff personally. So I didn't really have an interest in being a landlord, but I really wanted access to cash flow. I wanted access to passive investments where I could give my money to a great operator that knew what they were doing, were operating at scale, and could deliver me an outsized return in comparison to what the S&P 500 could do, or any other investment that could deliver me a distribution through dividends. And we discovered that there were a few options out there, but not really great options for guys like us that were not super high net worth. So what we saw was that there were really two places that you could invest your money passively. Either you invested as a accredited investor, which is someone that has $200,000 in income as an individual, or 300 with the spouse, or $1 million in assets. And those accredited investors could go out to private companies that were raising money to go into multifamily deals or retail deals or whatever, but they'd have to give them a $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 check at a time. And we didn't have that kind of money and we weren't accredited, so we didn't qualify. Additionally, there were a few companies out there that you might have heard of, like Fundrise or Arrived Homes or any of those other crowdfunding type platforms that offered investments to people like me and Ross, but they weren't very attractive. You had one operator that you can invest in. They were usually subpar in terms of returns. There were usually big fees in between us and the real estate. And you were investing in a fund and hoping that the operator was good at putting their money out into the world. So
Sounds
we
risky.
wanted control. Risky, not risky. It's like any other REIT, right? You hire really smart people to go out and find great deals, and they take a big fee, and usually your returns are a little bit less, but they're pretty consistent and conservative, which is good. But we also wanted access directly to the asset. I wanted to be able to say, here's $10,000. I would put $10,000 into this multifamily 400 unit offering that's sponsored by a company that has $5 billion in transactions as a track record. And I want to get paid a 8% cash on cash return and a 15% total return on an annual basis over the term of 4 years. We couldn't do that anywhere. It didn't exist. So we attempted to go out and find sponsors that were willing to do that type of crowdfunding solution. And there's few of them. You've probably heard of Grant Cardone, which most people have. Yeah. He raises money in that format. He is one of a few that leverage what's called a Regulation A offering to be able to raise from average consumers. But there's lots of operators like Grant Cardone that sometimes have more experience, more assets under management, more variety of assets that they invest in that are operating behind closed doors that are just as capable of delivering that same solution. And we wanted to give them access to that type of tool to raise capital. So it's been a journey. And what we've discovered is that in order for us to be able to do business with these multi-billion-dollar firms raising capital, we needed to meet them where they were at. So that's why we started by focusing on connecting the LPs and the GPs the way that they currently exist. And we built a platform that can then also ingest those crowdfunding opportunities to involve the average consumer. But the reason why we started was because we wanted to do this for us. And we discovered that it's actually quite hard to achieve. So it's going to be a long game for us. And we're going to find our way to be able to deliver that Fidelity style environment where someone can live trade real estate. It might take us 10 years, but we're going to make it out.
Well, once crypto rolls out, it'll make it a lot easier.
It's actually quite interesting. So I talk to sponsors a lot. We've talked to probably about 500 sponsors at this point in the last few years. And sponsors, just to create clarity, those are people that raise money for deals, whether they're private equity deals, they're real estate deals, energy deals. Sponsors are the people that sponsor the offering, right? What we discovered is that most of them are operating in 1999 and their systems aren't ready for the digital revolution. So we have to give them kind of a step-by-step to getting to that place where they can offer those average consumers investment opportunities. But the writing is on the wall. And what most people forget associated with like tokenization, which is what you just brought up, associated with cryptocurrencies, I'm assuming, what people seem to forget is that although you can tokenize an asset, you still have to go through the regulatory bodies that exist associated with the investment. And in order to do that, you have to have what's called a Regulation A offering. And there are very few of those out in the market. So I think what we're going to probably end up seeing is more operators flowing towards that Regulation A offering, building out the digital functionality for their business to bring on average consumers and ingest their capital into the capital stack. and then leveraging that cryptocurrency solution, which is really blockchain technology, to be able to create additional security around where the money goes.
Yeah, just the calculation. So we were talking about doing a crypto transaction the other day, but of course, buyers and sellers would have to both be on board. And then the whole calculation of like basically down to the second gets a little tricky. So it's definitely something that's extremely exciting that's on the horizon. But again, yeah, there's still so much, it's so mystical still, right? Like there's so many people who, and again, we're deal with a lot of people, especially in our area, who are obviously a lot more old school. They are not going to get on board with this ever. Some people, they're like, where can I fax you this thing? And I'm like, wait a minute, are we in 2026? Like what? So yeah, I mean, I definitely see that there will be a learning curve. It's going to take a while for all this to roll out, but I love what you're saying. I love your idea. I think it's fantastic. And I think it will be super successful. Like you're saying, some of these sites where you can just bet on, what are they going to say in the White House tomorrow? Or, what's not on the bingo card. It's crazy that people are betting on like the weather, or they're betting on, whatever silly little insignificant thing, and they're making money and it's exciting for them. So real estate's exciting.
Yeah. And you're opening the door to a lot of people. Like you said, you're like, I am not interested in being a landlord.
Yeah,
because you've done it. Yeah. I mean, you've seen it. So you're opening some doors for people that are just like you, that they're like, I don't know about it. I don't have time for it. I don't want to know about it, but they still want to invest in real estate. And
what an opportunity
to do it. Yeah. You're giving them that opportunity. So that's really cool. It's such an interesting.
Yeah, like why doesn't this already exist?
Yeah.
It feels like so silly. It's like makes so much sense. I love it. I love everything you're working on. It's fantastic.
Well, I think thank you. Acknowledged. Thank you very much. It's been quite a journey. We've been doing this for about 4 years.
Applause.
Thank you. And also my business partner, I couldn't do this without him, Ross Einarelli. I love that guy. But really what the reality is that we're in a position where we have all this technological revolution that's happening, but an industry that is so stagnant in its methodologies because there's so much money on the line that it's really hard to make changes. And I totally respect the business owners that are saying, hey, if it's not broken, I'm not going to fix it. And we're going to continue to build the business the way that we've built it forever. And that's what's working. And that's what we're going to keep doing. And there's a new generation that's coming in that really wants to take the advantages that most of these more mature operators aren't leveraging and utilizing them to their benefit to be able to create advantages for themselves. So I see that this is probably going to be a very large market in the next 10 to 15 years, depending on how quickly operators that are experienced can deal with the learning curve and kind of give opportunity to those people. Because what the big advantage for these companies would be is that right now they're raising capital from a pool of investors that accounts for about 18% of the US population. Only about 18% qualify as an accredited investor. And of that 18%, maybe 5% of those people know that these passive investments exist. Exactly. Once they realize that they can go out to the additional 82% and go out and say, hey guys, instead of going to dinner tonight, why don't you invest in your future in this deal that can pay you a certain percentage on your money every single year and invest in this piece of real estate? Or instead of investing in or betting more correctly on Kalshi, on whatever it is you bet on, put your money into something that has a long-term value and a hard asset that will actually hold some form of value in like a difficult economic time, right? So I think it's happening before our eyes. There's a huge disconnect between the consumer and the proprietor of the business, which is the operator, and the average investor, right? There's a huge gap there, but our intention is to fill that gap. So yeah, it's a journey. And today, for example, we only have deals that are available to accredited investors, but every day we're dealing with new operators that are looking towards the future and saying, hey, this is a mass market that we can go after. What does it look like for us to leverage this strategy? And it is more expensive. So it requires a lot of thought process from there and like budgeting and all that sort of fun stuff, because it's like a 6-figure investment. And they're seeing the writing on the wall and saying, okay, if I can prepare myself properly to be able to take advantage of this, there's a huge wide open market of people that want to participate.
So I have so many questions. First question, will there be some kind of like minimum required amount to invest, or how is that going to work?
So right now we have the lowest minimum investment on our platform, I believe, is $25,000. Now,
Okay.
the operations that we're trying to go after that have those Regulation A offerings can choose what their minimum investment is. Normally, they'll float somewhere between $1,000 and $5,000 minimum investment. That's what's out in the market. Those are the people that currently offer deals, which is super doable for anybody.
Yeah.
Our goal is to try to provide a plug and play solution that we can get enough people into that market such that we can reduce that barrier of entry down to $100, which there are some operators out there that have reduced their minimums to $100 or even $500. So it's very doable. It's very capable.
Yeah.
The question is volume of opportunity, like how many offerings are available that can actually be filled with those dollars, and making
Right.
sure that you have systems to manage a very large volume of people that are now quote unquote investors.
Right. Okay. Second question, follow-up question. How would you get, let's say you have a property or a product that you want to put into your platform? What would be the steps to qualify that property? And is it only existing properties, or are you guys also going to be diving into like new development properties?
Yeah.
So we've done both. We've also done a little bit of energy, so like oil and gas type stuff. And really, it's dependent on the structure of the offering. So you guys may or may not have heard of private placements that have what's called a Regulation D offering. Does that sound familiar at all? Amazing. So Regulation D is have you heard of it before?
No.
Yeah.
Please explain.
I will explain. Okay, so let's take a step back. So if you wanted to, the two of you start a business, you can say, okay, we're both going to put up $5,000. We run the business together. This is our investment into the stuff. Okay, cool. We have an LLC. We're partners. Okay. That's the simple. There you go. Done. Business started. Let's go.
We got all those. Check.
That's a check. That's the easiest way for someone to quote unquote invest in a business. Okay. The most difficult way for a company to offer investments to a person is what's called an S1 security, which is your Apple, your Google, your now SpaceX. They go through an IPO process. They launch on all the different stock exchanges, and they have what's called an S1 security, which is essentially a regulated security from the SEC that has certain requirements like annual and quarterly audits, shareholder meetings, all that sort of good stuff. In between those two things are a bunch of different exemptions. Okay. The one that we hear a lot is JV, joint venture. We've heard of that. Yes. Okay. A joint venture is usually where you have one operator that says, okay, this is my deal. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to bring investors that are going to be business partners, and we're all going to make decisions together. So everybody votes, right? That's one structure. A lot of people use that structure. You can't really advertise that. There are certain situations where you can, and we happen to have one that advertises like that. But for the most part, you don't advertise like that. Those are usually closed door deals.
Right.
If you step it up one step, you have what's called a Regulation D exemption. Okay. Those are basically filings with the SEC that say, hey, we're going to raise money. We're going to follow the rules. If we screw it up, come get us. Put us in jail, do what you got to do. Okay. And depending on which, well, everyone screws up something at some point. Okay. So I wouldn't let that hold you back from doing things. But yes, I agree. Everyone's going to screw it up. Don't you worry. We've screwed it up plenty. So when you're offering a Reg D offering, it gives you two different options, either a Reg D 506B or a 506C. Okay. Those two options give you different sets of rules. If you are in a C, which is what we do most often, you can see the offering. Okay.
Gotcha.
So that gives you the ability to generally solicit, but you can only raise money from rich people. So you have to have that accredited status to put your money in. Okay. The other one is B, which is, I don't know how to give you an acronym to be able to keep track of it, but B is the other one. Okay. And in B, you can raise also from your friends and family, but you can't advertise it. So if mom or brother or sister or friend is not an accredited investor, but they have 50 grand and they want to invest with you, you can take their money, up to 35 of those people, but you cannot advertise that deal to the world. Okay. That's what we see most often.
Did not
So
know.
usually what will happen is people will work through these processes and work up to a Regulation D exemption. That's where we start to work with people because they can advertise their deal. Now, once you go beyond that, that's when you start to open it up to the average Joe. There's what's called a Regulation CF or Regulation A. Those are for crowdfunding. That's like Grant Cardone. right? You can advertise to anybody. Anybody can invest the 5,000. A little bit more expensive to set up. You want a little bit more experience, but then you can really automate and digitize the whole thing. Get a broker dealer to manage the transactions, do all the heavy lifting in a fully digital setting. I can send you my money on my phone, right? So there's a process. Usually when we get to the Reg Ds, is where we usually do business.
Wow.
So the process for that, a lot of regulatory stuff, but really the name of the game is you have a business, you have a niche of real estate that you go after, you have a track record of success proving that you can return back to investors. Then you'll come to us with one of those Regulation D offerings that's generally solicitable. And then we will work a deal and underwrite the deal and make sure it looks good to advertise it on our platform to investors.
Very cool and very well thought out. I love that.
Yeah. And I also love all the information that's just going through your head right now. I just told us, I'm like, I'm going to have to rewatch this podcast because I'm learning so much and I know I'm missing half of it. This is very informative.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So other follow-up question. So have you considered, I don't know if you've seen other big companies like especially the crypto ones where you get like a little credit card and each time you make a transaction you're also making the like round up donation into your own account. Are you guys going to offer something like that, or have you thought of
That would
that?
be like cool. I could totally do that. That sounds really awesome.
I think this is the easiest way for people to invest, and then they're kind of investing without even realizing, and they don't feel it as much. And then it's just so like I looked into one, and again, it was kind of hard to qualify for too. I think it was called the Gemini card, and it's for crypto. And so every time you're spending on your card, it will just do a roundup, and then the roundup goes into your crypto account.
That could be very interesting.
That could be super cool. And it's like the new black card of real estate.
That'd be fun. But we'll make it purple because our color's purple. So yeah.
Okay, purple is royalty, so that's even better. Yeah. Can it be called the Desire? Because I made it up.
We can talk about it. We'll figure it out. If you can help me roll it out, we can have a chat.
Okay. You heard it here first. Get your purple Desire card. So you can be investing in real estate without even realizing you're investing in real estate.
Awesome.
I do love that actually. That's totally something that we could do. We'll have to get to a place where we can connect that credit card to our platform. We're not there yet, but that's definitely on the roadmap now. So thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. That's so many questions. I have so many ideas and questions. It's so amazing.
We expect in the next year.
No, I know how technology it's so hard running technology companies. So that's kind of like where I started in real estate was I was working with a German investor and he really wanted to do, we were living in Costa Rica. He really wanted to build an MLS system because we didn't have a centralized database for properties, which was so impossible and frustrating. So he's like, I see this problem. There's a solution. Let's make it happen. Obviously, it was very difficult to roll out in Latin America because MLS for people in Latin America is basically sucked. So it was like the whole conversation from there every day. So yeah, it was really difficult. And it took us a long time. It was definitely uphill battle, just trying to explain things and get people to understand your vision and what it's supposed to do and how that's really going to solve their problem or help them. So I think that you have that very clear. And I think that it's extremely exciting.
Yeah. Thank you. And you know what I'll tell you about technology is that usually it's not about you, it's about the customer. And you have to really try to figure out how to put your ego aside of like what you want and listen to what your customers are willing to pay for and willing to participate in. Because what you end up with is something usually completely different than what you originally anticipated. And just like how this business worked out to be something completely different than what we originally anticipated, the vision and the North Star has always changed the same, but the modalities of delivering it is completely different than we originally thought. And yeah, it's a grind because unlike, certain like physical products, you have to get someone to understand what you do before they can give you feedback on it. Right. If I give you a product and say, here's the product, use it, they can immediately say, okay, I don't know how to, this is how this works. But if you just give them a technology and say, okay, go figure this out. What does it do? Like, I don't even know what the principles are. Like, I don't even know why I would come to this. I don't know how this is going to help my life. So you have to kind of reverse engineer it, which makes it very, very tough, but a worthwhile journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure everybody has different wants and needs. And different expectations. So that's always a lot of loops to be jumping through. So I really appreciate that you're doing all that as well. So one of the main things we like to talk about on our podcast also is what we would see you doing if you retired. So if you make this real estate stock market happen and become a bazillionaire, A, you have to take us on your yacht. But B,
Fair enough.
what would we see you doing? What would you, where would you be?
First of all, we'd be hanging on the yacht, and that works. That's great. I'm good with that. That's a good start. Number one, I really have fallen in love with skiing in the last couple of years. And like even this summer, I'm considering going to South America to go ski because that's the only place that has snow. So I'm
Right.
going to go to South America. But I would really love to do like a real world trip kind of thing and just go see as many mountains as I could. That'd be really fun.
Oh my God.
I've always had the dream of doing a very long Europe trip with a very expensive sports car. I'm a car guy. I've always loved cars. I actually was in the auto world before this, and the whole reason why I work this hard is so that one day I can have a garage full of cars. I could live in a shanty and I could care less, but if I have a garage full of cars, my life is fulfilled. So,
You're going to live in Monaco.
oh no, absolutely not. That's way too expensive for me to put the cars that I want in the garage. That's not going to happen. No. Maybe in Texas, somewhere in the middle of nowhere where I can build a warehouse and just house all the cars. Maybe there. But I would definitely visit Monaco. But I've always wanted to fly into London, rent like a high-powered convertible sports car, drive all around the UK, cross the channel into France, go all the way through all of Europe, just kind of swing through all of Europe, and then end at Tomorrowland in Belgium. I don't know if that Tomorrowland component, the last component, is still going to survive by the time I'm going to go on that trip, but it would be a cool little event. Do you guys know what Tomorrowland is?
So we actually had a visitor on here who mentioned Tomorrowland. So it's kind
That's
of funny
awesome.
Yeah. It's funny how like a lot of the podcasts, we start to hear like the same things over and over again, or like the same people. They're like, oh, do you know this guy? You should know this guy. And we're like,
and they're mentioning the same
same people. And we're like, wow, this is so crazy.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Tomorrowland is special music. It's a big, huge music festival, mostly like EDM music in Europe, and it's like 5 days long. I don't know if I can handle it anymore.
I
I don't know if I can. But I do want to at some point do that trip and end there. So we'll see where it goes.
Sounds fantastic. That's a beautiful dream.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. I hope you get that. And then closing thing that we like to do on our podcast is to talk about some charity that is very special to you. And then you can give us a charity ask. So do you have anything top of mind?
So Fish for Life, for sure. It's a charity that takes special needs children and adults on fishing trips, deep sea. I think they're both present on the West Coast and the East Coast, which is pretty cool. I think they're near you guys as well. And in terms of an ask, that's a difficult one because what comes to mind is lining up a boat and getting a donated like a boat trip with a bunch of special needs kids and adults to go out on the boat. And that's totally doable. It's like a $5,000 trip that we could get a couple people together and actually make that happen. But that might be a little bit of a difficult ask for the community, just like as a complete stranger. So maybe what might be better is volunteer your time to go out on a boat this summer and go be with some cool people on a cool boat, have a wonderful experience. So look up Fish for Life and see if you can be a volunteer on one of their boats this year.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. That would be amazing. So we would
Fun.
love that. That's a wonderful ask. Sounds like a lot of fun. So we will fulfill that for sure. I was thinking of
Beautiful.
something else we could do with that, but
Well, I don't know. So I do have a friend who owns a fishing charter. So I mean, lining up a boat may not be completely out of the question.
yeah, we can see. We can see
I
how
mean,
far we can go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how far we can go either direction, but we'll keep you posted on it. And maybe just maybe you can be here for it.
Yeah.
No, I'm in for that. So okay, I'll make you
Okay.
guys a commitment. If we can put a boat together, then I will fly to Florida and we will do a boat with Fish for Life. I know that they have a bunch of boats. Sometimes they're booked out, but if you have a boat that can charter, that's a different conversation. Because usually what they'll do is they'll charge $5,000 for a trip, and they'll go charter the boat for us, right? But if you have a boat that you could charter, that might be easy to add a trip with them, and I can reach out to
it's
Jim.
not a yacht type boat. It is like a true fishing boat. It fits probably about 7 people ish. I mean, it's
Okay, that might be a little. We could
But-
definitely do a trip with that. It might. Usually, the intention is to try to get 60 or 70 people on like a bigger charter. But
Okay.
either way, that could be very, very fun. Maybe we could do like a fishing trip and donate the money from if we catch like a tuna or like a mahi or something and sell it and do that whole thing. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, that'd be
But
cool.
I mean,
Yeah. A lot of local
I mean,
fish markets. We have a lot of local boaters that we don't know. Like we know a lot of people, so we might be able to pull some pretty nice strings.
Pops up in my head is the boat that we rented that one Christmas yes,
But that's just like it. Well, we have to talk to them.
right. I have time. But
Yeah, and the other thing too, like you were saying, how, the most important thing about building your business is kind of talking to the end user. We can also ask the local organization, Fish for Life, that we can see like what do they want or need most, and we can also try and fulfill what they ask for too. So we're gonna play with that idea because it sounds really exciting and fun, and we will definitely keep you posted. And if there's a possibility for you to come, then we will definitely invite you.
sounds
and
like a plan.
volunteer, definitely.
Yeah, volunteering time, no problem.
Yeah,
we got that.
honestly, my husband would love that.
I know. Yeah, exactly. You're fishing all the time.
Well, the cool part is it's basically a free deep sea fishing trip, which is like the coolest thing, right? Because you just show up and you get to hang out with a bunch of people and you go fishing and it's a
But
blast.
how
Super
happy are
fun.
the kids too? The kids are
Super
probably
happy.
just like,
Oh, they're the
so
best.
stuff.
I have
So
a
cute.
picture hung up with one of the kids. His name is Danny. I'll never forget that kid. Just the fun, like very autistic, but just the happiest human in the world that you could ever
Yeah.
find. And just
I
like
love that.
so much fun. It was, it was, and my heart was full by the time I was done. And I think that they really enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Amazing.
Well, we're definitely gonna get
Yeah.
our planning caps on, and we'll be in touch with you on that one. So
Sounds
thank
like a
you
plan.
so much, our Slumdog Millionaire fans. Thank you so much, Mor, for being on our show. I love your idea. I'm wishing you all the success in the world, and you better keep us posted on how it's going.
Yeah.
We'll have you back again, you and your partner, so that we could do a follow-up interview, and we will definitely do the fulfillment with all of the love in our hearts. And we'll see you soon next time.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
That's a wrap on another episode of Slumdog Millionaires. If you're ready to turn dreams into dollars, smash that follow button and join us every week for more money moves and mindset magic. Don't forget to give back to your local community. Until next time, keep grinding, keep growing, and remember, your empire starts with one smart decision. Huge gratitude shout out to our production team at Icons of Real Estate.